The whole thing started with a single gunshot at a quiet gas station a few minutes before midnight. One second, a man was just pumping gas on his way home from work. The next second, he was lying on the concrete bleeding under fluorescent lights. And the man who pulled the trigger, yeah, he was the one wearing the badge. Now, if you've ever driven those lonely stretches of highway late at night, you know the kind of place I'm talking about. One gas station sitting off the exit ramp, buzzing lights, maybe a soda machine humming by the door, and the rest of the world just darkness and open road. That's where Marcus Hale pulled in that night. Marcus was 39 years old, an Army major who had spent more years overseas than he probably ever expected when he first signed up. Afghanistan, Iraq, places where people learned real fast that panic could get you killed and calm thinking kept people alive. He wasn't wearing a uniform that night, though. Just jeans, boots, a hoodie, regular guy clothes. His gas light had been blinking for miles, his phone battery was barely hanging on, and home was still 40 minutes away. So he pulled into that little gas station, slid his card into the pump, and leaned against the car while the tank filled. Quiet night. A moth smacking itself against the overhead light like it didn't understand the difference between brightness and danger. Inside the store was a young cashier named Arjun Patel, working the overnight shift. If you've ever worked nights, you know how that goes. You start recognizing the different types of customers real quick. Truck drivers who barely say a word, road trippers, grabbing coffee, college kids stumbling in for snacks. Marcus looked like the easiest kind. Calm, polite, minding his own business. Arjun barely gave him a second thought. And honestly, that should have been the end of the story. Just another quiet stop on a long highway. But then headlights cut across the lot a little too fast. A police cruiser. It didn't glide in slow like someone stopping for coffee. It turned hard, parked behind Marcus's car at an angle like it was blocking someone from leaving. Red and blue lights burst across the windows of the store. You know that feeling when a place suddenly changes temperature? That was it. Marcus straightened up slowly. The officer stepped out of the cruiser. Big guy, early 40s, maybe the kind of build that fills out a uniform. His name was Officer Grant Walker. Now there's a certain walk some officers have when they approach someone, like the moment they show up, they already assume they're in charge of the story. Walker had that walk. His hand hovered near his holster while he came up behind Marcus. Marcus turned calmly, lifting his hands just enough to show they were empty. "Evening, officer," he said. "Everything all right?" Walker didn't answer the question, not even a nod. Instead, he snapped step away from the vehicle. Marcus blinked once. Calm, steady voice. "I'm just pumping gas." Walker stepped closer. "I said step away from the vehicle. Hands where I can see them." Now here's the thing. Marcus's hands were already visible. Anyone with eyes could see that. Still, he lifted them higher. "They're right here," he said. "Can I ask what's going on?" Walker's eyes narrowed. "You match a description." Marcus looked around the empty lot for a second. Description of what Walker gestured vaguely toward the road, like the explanation lived somewhere out there in the darkness. Suspicious person reported in the area. Marcus almost laughed, but he didn't. See, soldiers learn something most civilians never think about. Pride can get you hurt if you pick the wrong moment to use it. So he kept his voice calm. "Officer, I'm literally pumping gas." For a moment, just a moment, the whole thing could have ended right there. Ask a couple questions, check ID, everybody goes home. But Walker wasn't looking for answers. He was looking for attitude. "You got a problem with instructions?" Walker asked. "No, sir," Marcus said. "Just trying to understand what's happening." Walker stepped closer again. "Turn around." Marcus paused half a second, not refusing, just thinking. "Am I being detained?" he asked, and something about that question flipped a switch in Walker's head. "I'm going to tell you one more time," he snapped. "Turn around." Marcus let out a slow breath and did exactly that, hands still raised. Walker grabbed his wrist hard. Marcus's shoulder shifted a little, just a reflex from the grip. Instantly, Walker shouted, "Stop resisting! I'm not resisting," Marcus said quickly. Inside the store, Arjun had stopped moving completely. From behind that glass, it looked obvious Marcus wasn't fighting anyone. If anything, he looked like someone trying very carefully not to make the wrong move. Marcus spoke slowly. "My wallet's in my back pocket," he said. "My ID is in there. Tell me how you want me to move." Walker didn't respond right away. Then something slipped out of his mouth that changed everything. "I don't care who you are," he muttered. "You people always got an excuse." Those words hung there in the air. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Repeat that," he said quietly. Walker realized what he'd said. but instead of backing off, he pushed harder. "Don't talk back," he snapped. "Step away from the vehicle." Marcus stayed still. "I'm not a threat," he said. "I'm a United States Army officer." He wasn't flexing rank. He was hoping it would trigger something in the officer's brain. Discipline, respect, chain of command, something. But Walker just sneered. "I don't care what you are. Get on the ground." Marcus frowned slightly. "That would require lowering my hands," he said. Walker's hand moved to his gun. "Hands where I can see them. They're already up," Marcus replied. His voice stayed calm, but the tension was there now. "Officer," he said slowly, "I'm reaching for my military ID." Walker's eyes narrowed. "Drop it." "I haven't reached yet," Marcus said. The gunshot exploded across the gas station lot. Marcus's body jerked, then he collapsed beside pump 4. Everything went silent for a second. Even Walker froze. Inside the store, Arjun shouted and ran outside with his phone already dialing 911. Marcus lay on the pavement, the gas pump still clicking beside him, his hands empty, blood spreading across the concrete under those buzzing lights. Walker grabbed his radio. "Shots fired," he said quickly. "Suspect down." Suspect. Like that one word could rewrite what just happened. Paramedics arrived fast. They cut open Marcus's hoodie, pressed gauze against the wound, worked with the urgency you only see when seconds matter. One of them opened Marcus's wallet. Inside was a military ID. The medic looked up slowly at Walker. "You shot an active duty officer," he said. And that's when the whole scene changed. Marcus survived the ambulance ride by inches. At the hospital, his wife Sophia arrived with their 2 kids because someone on the phone had said the words, "shooting and your husband," and that's about all she heard. Their son kept asking if Dad was going to be okay. Their daughter just stared at the floor. Meanwhile, Officer Walker was already writing his report. Marcus reached suddenly. Marcus failed to comply. Officer feared for his life. Clean sentences. Official language. But here's the twist Walker didn't think about. Cameras. The gas station cameras saw everything. Arjun's phone captured the audio, and Walker's body cam had turned on just early enough to record that line. "You people always got an excuse." Investigators watched the footage the next morning. They watched Marcus's hands raised. They heard him calmly explain every movement. They saw the moment Walker escalated a routine stop into a shooting. Internal Affairs checked Walker's record, complaints, several of them, aggressive stops, unnecessary force. Supervisors had written warnings, but nothing had really happened, until now. Prosecutors built the case piece by piece. Video, audio, witness testimony, Walker's own words. A grand jury indicted him on attempted murder and civil rights violations. The trial began months later. The courtroom was packed. Marcus walked in with a slight limp, but his back straight. Walker sat at the defense table in a suit that didn't quite fit the way his uniform used to. When the prosecutor asked Marcus to identify the man who shot him, Marcus didn't hesitate. That's him. The defense tried the usual arguments. Officer safety, split-second decisions. Maybe Marcus seemed threatening. Then the prosecution played the video. The whole room watched Marcus standing there with his hands up, heard the officer's words. One woman whispered, "Oh my God." Arjun testified next. "I kept thinking he said that man was doing everything right." The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the verdict was guilty. 6 weeks later came sentencing. Marcus spoke calmly. "My kids jump when they hear sirens now," he said. "I served overseas believing the law meant something." The judge looked at Walker and said something people in that room still remember. "The badge gave you power. You treated it like permission." Then he sentenced him to 25 years. Walker left the courtroom in handcuffs. No badge, no lights, no authority, just another inmate. Marcus spent months recovering, learning to walk without pain, again rebuilding a life that almost ended under a gas station light. He eventually returned to service in a limited role, and sometimes he speaks about what happened, not angry speeches. Just honest conversations about discipline, accountability, and the difference between authority and abuse. But here's the question people still argue about. Did justice work that day? Or did it only work because there were cameras, because someone witnessed it, because the victim survived long enough to tell the story? Think about that for a second. If Marcus had been alone that night, if there were no cameras, no witnesses, do you think the story would have ended the same way? I want to hear what you think. Seriously. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whether you believe justice really worked here, or whether this case only happened because the truth got caught on camera. And if you've ever seen something like this yourself, yeah, tell that story too.